Today we are going to discuss about the blood supply, arches and the sole of the foot. So first we'll start with the blood supply of the lower limb. So actually the blood supply of lower limb is by the iliac arteries. So you know that the common iliac artery in turn is divided into the internal iliac artery and external iliac artery. So, the internal iliac artery is in turn divided into anterior division and posterior division. In anterior division, there will be total of 10 branches, whereas in the posterior division, there will be 3 branches. So, to remember the 3 branches, you have a mnemonic like SIL. So, S for superior gluteal artery, I for iliolumbar artery, L for lateral sacral artery. So coming to external iliac artery, below the mid-inguinal point, it will continue as femoral artery. So let me show whatever I explained over here now in by means of a diagram. So in this diagram here you can see this is a common iliac artery. So this common iliac artery is in turn divided into the external iliac and internal iliac, right? So the external iliac below the mid-inguinal point over here you can see external iliac below the mid-inguinal point. It is continuing as a femoral artery. So this one is a femoral artery, so which is coming below the mid-inguinal point. So this is a external iliac artery. Okay, now let us see about the femoral artery. So once again let us revise about this. The common iliac artery is divided into internal iliac and external iliac. Internal iliac is in turn divided into anterior division and posterior division. Anterior division have 10 branches, posterior division have 3 branches. The 3 branches are SIL. S for superior gluteal artery, I for iliolumbar artery, L for lateral sacral artery. Coming to external iliac artery, below the mid-inguinal point, it continues femoral artery. So now we are going to discuss about femoral artery, which is a continuation of external iliac artery. So femoral artery, it will go to the lateral, it's actually in the lateral compartment of the femoral sheath, if you remember. It is passing by means of adductor canal, and next it passes to adductor hiatus. You know, adductor hiatus is an opening in adductor magnus muscle. So by this it will enter the popliteal fossa on the back side, where it is continuous again as popliteal artery. So the popliteal artery is indirectly coming from femoral artery and also indirectly coming from external iliac artery, or you can say coming from common iliac artery. So this is the flow. So femoral artery is continuing as popliteal artery in the popliteal fossa. So there are like different branches of femoral artery. What are those? Let us see. The first one is superficial epigastric artery, the superficial circumflex iliac artery, the superficial external pudendal artery, and the deep external pudendal artery, profunda femoris artery, and there are some also muscular branches. So these are the branches of femoral artery which you need to remember. Okay, so femoral artery is nothing but it's coming from external iliac artery. That external iliac artery only continues popliteal artery, and it gives different branches like the superficial epigastric, superficial circumflex iliac, superficial external pudendal, deep external pudendal, profunda femoris, and muscular branches. So actually this profunda femoris in turn will give the 3 branches, that is the lateral circumflex femoral, medial circumflex femoral, and perforating branches. Actually, the lateral circumflex femoral divides the femoral nerve into anterior and posterior division. Already about this we are discussing femoral nerve. So next coming to medial circumflex femoral, and the third one is perforating branch. There are 4 perforating branches, but among them the second perforating artery is a nutrient branch, especially which is giving nutrient passing to the nutrient foramen, and it is giving to the femur bone. So this is a perforating branch. So 3 branches are coming from profunda femoris artery. So what is the blood supply of femoral head? This is an important question. So before seeing this, let us see this diagram. What I have said, what are the branches, what are the branches of profunda femoris artery, and how the femoral artery is passing by all these things. So in this diagram you can clearly see this is a femoral artery, right? It is passing by means of adductor hiatus, entering the popliteal fossa on the back side and continue as a popliteal artery. Okay, so you can see these are the 6 branches clearly mentioned over here. So the first branch is deep external pudendal artery here, this one, and the second one is superficial external pudendal, and the third one is superficial circumflex iliac, and the fourth one is profunda femoris, and the fifth one are the muscular branches, and the sixth one is superficial epigastric. So you can see here everything is mentioned. So in turn, this perforating femoral artery, this profunda femoris artery will give ABC. Here A represents the lateral circumflex femoral artery, and the B represents the medial circumflex femoral artery, and the C represents the perforating branches. Okay. Now let us discuss with the blood supply of femoral head. So you know the femur have a round shaped head, right? So for that, who is going to supply the blood? So mainly, if the question comes in the medial circumflex artery, femoral artery is the one which is coming from, if you remember, profunda femoris artery, right? So this is the one which is going to supply the head of femur. If in the options there is also lateral circumflex femoral artery, then you can give for this a second preference, but the first preference is the medial circumflex femoral artery. And this medial circumflex femoral artery gives the lateral epiphyseal artery. What is this lateral epiphyseal artery? Actually, it's a major supply to the head of femur. So remember, either medial circumflex femoral artery or lateral epiphyseal artery are giving the major supply to the head of femur. Next, coming to medial epiphyseal artery. The medial epiphyseal artery is derived from foveolar artery, and this supplies the minor portions of head. So major portion of head is supplied by lateral epiphyseal artery, but the minor surfaces of the head are supplied by medial epiphyseal artery. So what we need to understand now, in the case of circumflex artery, medial circumflex artery is greater than lateral circumflex artery. In the case of epiphyseal artery, lateral epiphyseal artery is greater than medial epiphyseal artery. So you should see the word clearly, either it's circumflex or epiphyseal. Don't confuse with for them. So circumflex, medial is greater. In the case of epiphyseal, lateral is greater. Okay. So now coming to, that's what lateral epiphyseal is greater than medial epiphyseal, and medial circumflex is greater than lateral epiphyseal. So now if you want to compare between the medial circumflex and lateral epiphyseal, of course the medial circumflex is most great when compared with all the arteries. So medial circumflex greater than lateral epiphyseal artery. So this is about the blood supply of femoral head. Now let us discuss about anastomosis. Like what is the anastomosis which is going on in the lower limb. So anastomosis, here you have mainly two types of anastomosis. One is called as trochanteric. So one is trochanteric anastomosis, which is going on in the great trochanter of femur, and one is a cruciate anastomosis. Actually, these anastomosis are between two arteries. One is the internal iliac artery and one is the external iliac artery. So between these two arteries, that is the internal iliac and external iliac artery, you have this anastomosis. I will show you the diagram also. So first we'll talk about the trochanteric anastomosis and what are all the arteries which are involved in trochanteric anastomosis. So the first one is superior gluteal artery. So actually superior gluteal artery is a branch of posterior division of internal iliac. So from, as I said, this anastomosis is between internal iliac and external iliac. You can see here the superior gluteal artery is from internal iliac. Inferior gluteal artery is branch of anterior division of internal iliac, and lateral femoral circumflex artery, it's a branch of profunda femoris, which is in turn a branch of femoral artery, and it's a continuation of external iliac artery. Even here, I forgot to mention the medial femoral circumflex. The medial femoral circumflex artery also participates here in the trochanteric anastomosis. So these are the arteries which are involved. So it's an anastomosis mainly between the internal iliac and external iliac arteries. So let us check out the diagram and understand this trochanteric anastomosis more clearly. So in this diagram you can see the trochanteric anastomosis and the different arteries. So the first artery is the superior gluteal artery, which is coming from internal iliac, and the next one is inferior gluteal artery, which is also coming from internal iliac. Okay, and the third one is, you can see here, the superior lateral and circumflex femoral arteries, which are of profunda femoris, supply both anastomosis. So that one is another one, and also you have the lateral femoral circumflex artery, right? That is only this one. So these are all, and also you can see the fifth one, ascending branch of first perforator artery. Of course, it is in cruciate anastomosis. So this is, you can see around this greater trochanter. These are trochanteric anastomosis. Now let us check out the arteries which are taking part in cruciate anastomosis. So in the cruciate anastomosis, you have inferior gluteal artery, which is of course a branch of anterior division of internal iliac. And you have a first perforating artery, which is a branch of profunda femoris artery, which is in turn a branch of femoral artery and a continuation of external iliac artery. So next we have lateral femoral circumflex, which is a branch of profunda femoris, and it's a branch of femoral artery and it's a continuation of external iliac artery. Next we also have the medial femoral circumflex, which is a branch of profunda femoris, and the same, like it's a branch of femoral artery, branch of external iliac. So superior gluteal artery is not involved in cruciate anastomosis. So this thing we need to remember for cruciate anastomosis. Superior gluteal is only involved in trochanteric anastomosis, but superior gluteal is not involved in cruciate anastomosis. And also you need to note that the medial circumflex femoral is not involved in trochanteric anastomosis. So actually I wrote it here, but it's wrong. So you can see here, the medial femoral cutaneous circumflex is not involved in. It's not involved in trochanteric anastomosis, and in cruciate superior gluteal is not involved. Okay, so let us see the diagram. So this is already we discussed the trochanteric anastomosis. So here you can see this is the cruciate anastomosis. So you can see here there is inferior gluteal, lateral femoral circumflex, medial femoral circumflex, and first perforating artery, but there is no superior gluteal artery. Okay. So after anastomosis, let us continue our discussion on blood supply of fluellum. So coming to popliteal artery, the femoral artery only in the popliteal fossa will form as popliteal artery. So this popliteal artery will in turn divide into anterior tibial artery and posterior tibial artery. Okay. So anterior tibial artery, according to its name, it supplies anterior compartment of leg. Posterior tibial artery, according to the name, it will supply the posterior compartment of leg. So this posterior tibial artery have two branches. One is it is giving a nutrient artery to the tibia, and one is a peroneal artery which is supplying lateral compartment of leg. So according to the name of the muscles only, peroneal artery it supplies to the peroneal muscles, that is the lateral compartment muscles. Anterior tibial artery, according to the name, supplies anterior compartment of leg. Posterior tibial artery supplies posterior compartment of leg. So this all arteries are, according to the name, they do their function. So actually this popliteal artery, this passes below the flexor retinaculum. Actually not the popliteal artery, it's a posterior tibial artery. So we're talking about posterior tibial artery, right? I said popliteal artery divided into anterior tibial and posterior tibial. So in the posterior tibial only we have this word, that is it is passing below the flexor retinaculum in the sole, and it will give two branches. So this posterior tibial artery is in turn dividing into two branches. One is the lateral plantar artery, one is a medial plantar artery. Okay, and anterior tibial artery gives medial and lateral malleolar artery. So this is important. Anterior tibial artery will divide into medial and lateral malleolar artery, but the posterior tibial artery will divide into lateral and medial plantar artery. And this anterior tibial artery is continuous as dorsalis pedis artery. So for this, let us check out the diagram to understand this. So in this diagram you can clearly see this is a popliteal artery. So this popliteal artery is dividing into the, so you can see here this is the popliteal artery which is dividing into anterior tibial artery and posterior tibial artery. So the posterior tibial artery will be continuous in below the flexor retinaculum, and the posterior tibial artery will divide into lateral plantar artery and medial plantar artery. But the anterior tibial artery will be continuous as the medial and lateral malleolar branches, and also dorsalis pedis artery. Now let us see about the dorsalis pedis artery. If you remember, it's a continuation of anterior tibial artery. Anterior tibial artery, it is divided into medial and lateral malleolar artery. So in between, the dorsalis pedis artery is a continuation of anterior tibial artery. So it is passing in a triangular interval between the heads of first dorsal interosseous muscle and enter the sole. In the sole anastomose with the lateral plantar artery. You know, lateral plantar artery is a branch of posterior tibial artery, right? And in turn completes the plantar arch. So the dorsalis pedis artery is helpful to complete the plantar arch, and also it gives 1, 2, 3, 4 dorsal metatarsal arteries and as a branch, and also it gives a arcuate artery, lateral and medial, also lateral and medial tarsal arteries. So all this I will show in the diagram. Next, what is corona mortis? So actually this is a very difficult to identify. Actually there is an anastomosis between the pubic branch of inferior gastric artery and pubic branch of obturator artery. Okay, so this inferior epigastric artery is internal branch of external iliac artery, and the obturator artery is internal branch of anterior division of internal iliac artery. So again here also in the coronum arteries also there is anastomosis between the internal iliac and external iliac artery, that is between the inferior epigastric artery and obturator artery. So what is this coronum arteries? This also I will show now in the diagram. So first we'll see the dorsalis pedis artery. You can see here clearly. So this is actually the anterior tibial artery that is continuous as dorsalis pedis artery. We know that anterior tibial artery will give medial malleolar branch, lateral malleolar branch. In the middle it is continuous as dorsalis pedis. This dorsalis pedis only first it gives the medial tarsal artery and the lateral tarsal artery, and also it gives an arcuate artery. Okay, and also it gives metatarsal arteries here, 2, 3, 4 metatarsal, first dorsal metatarsal. So this artery will also go down and it will continue to form a plantar arch. Okay, so in this diagram we can see the corona mortis, where there is anastomosis between obturator artery here and there is inferior epigastric artery. Next we are going to discuss about abnormal obturator artery. So actually this one is abnormal obturator artery, which is actually an inferior epigastric artery, but it is replaced by the obturator artery, and you can see it is very close to lacunar ligament. So for any surgery work then the surgeon should be careful, because the lacunar ligament may also get ruptured. So here you can see the abnormal obturator artery. It's the pubic branch of inferior epigastric artery is replaced by obturator artery, and it is very close to lacunar ligament, that is, it is forming the medial boundary of femoral line. So there is a problem if the surgeon by mistake the lacunar ligament is damaged, if they want to repair the abnormal obturator artery. Now let us discuss about arches of foot. So you can see this is the transverse arch, this is the medial longitudinal arch, this is the lateral longitudinal arch. So first we'll see the medial longitudinal arch. It is made up of mainly 3 bones, that is the calcaneum bone, navicular bone, and first 3 metatarsal bones. And here if you see the main bone, the highest bone is the talus bone. Okay, so now we are going to start with arches of foot. So you can see here the arches of foot. First one, the medial longitudinal arch. Here the summit of arch, that is the longest bone, is the talus bone in the highest position. And the joint of arch, there is a joint of talocalcaneonavicular joint, which is a ball and socket joint. I will show that diagram. So we can see here this is a navicular bone, this is calcaneus bone, talo. So these 3 are joined here, talocalcaneonavicular joint. And of course the ligament which is supporting it is the spring ligament, and the sling support is by tendons of tibialis posterior, tibialis anterior, flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum longus. That is, these 2 muscles are the medial side muscles which are useful for inversion, right? And flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum longus are also helping for sling support. Let us see the lateral longitudinal arch. You can see the bones are calcaneum, cuboid, that is all 3 cuboids, 4th and 5th metatarsal bones. So this is a lateral longitudinal arch. So you can see here the bones of lateral longitudinal arch, calcaneum, cuboid, 4th and 5th metatarsal bones. So actually here the joint of arch is calcaneocuboid, that is between the calcaneum and cuboid bone. So you can see the joint, this is calcaneum cuboid, so this is calcaneocuboid joint. And here there is nothing but a saddle joint, and here the ligament supporting is short and long plantar ligament, and the sling support is by tendons of peroneus longus and brevis. Okay, so now we are starting with layers of sole. So layer 1 muscles of the sole are abductor hallucis, flexor digitorum brevis, abductor digita minimi. So it's a abductor layer. Okay, so abductor hallucis going to great toe, abductor digita minimi going to small toe, flexor digitorum brevis, it's a small muscle going to the lateral 4 toes. So now you can see here actually this layers of sole are supplied by the medial and lateral plantar nerve, which are coming from the posterior tibial nerve, right? So the first layer is called abductor layer. Okay, so the nerve supply here, especially for abductor hallucis and flexor digitorum brevis, is by medial plantar nerve. So the lateral plantar nerve supplies the abductor digiti minimi. Okay, so now coming to the second layer of the sole. So if you see the second layer of sole, you have flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum longus, lumbricals, and quadratus plantae muscle. So here in the layer 2, 2 tendons, you have 2 tendons, 2 muscles, and the nerve supply for the first lumbrical is by medial plantar nerve. But you can see here other muscles like flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum longus, lumbricals, quadratus plantae, all these are supplied by lateral plantar nerve. Okay, next we'll go to layer 3. So this is layer 3. Here you have the flexor hallucis brevis with sesamoids. You have flexor digiti minimi brevis. You have adductor hallucis, medial transverse head and oblique head. Right. So third layer is called flexor layer, and the nerve supply especially to flexor hallucis brevis is by medial plantar nerve. But for flexor digitorum minimi brevis adductor hallucis, it is supplied by lateral plantar nerve. Now let us come to the last layer, that is the fourth layer. Okay. The fourth layer you have mainly the plantar interossea and the dorsal interossea. Okay. So the fourth layer, dorsal interossea 4 in number, plantar interossea 3 in number. Dorsal interossea are bipinnate, plantar interossea are unipinnate, and these are supplied by lateral plantar nerve. Okay. So muscles, what are the muscles? To remember all this very easily, the muscles which are supplied by medial plantar nerve, you have a mnemonic LAFF, LAFF. Okay. So L is first lumbrical, A is abductor hallucis, F is flexor digitorum brevis, and another F is flexor hallucis brevis. So these are all the muscles, LAFF muscles, which are supplied by medial plantar nerve. Remaining all muscles are supplied by the lateral plantar nerve. So you can see the rest all muscles in the sole are supplied by lateral plantar nerve. Now coming to Morton's neuroma, what is this? It's the most common entrapment disorder. The medial plantar nerve is affected, especially its third common branch is affected. So I'll show this diagram. And next coming to Baxter's neuropathy. It is due to the Baxter's nerve where inferior calcaneal branch of lateral plantar nerve is affected. So what is this Baxter's neuropathy and Morton's neuroma? Let us see by means of diagram. This diagram shows the Morton's neuroma where the entrapment disorder where the medial plantar nerve is affected, and here the third common branch is mostly affected. So you can see here 1, 2, 3, this third most common branch is affected, Morton's neuroma, and you can see this is how it looks. Radiating pain will be here on the sole or plantar surface of foot. So this is the last one, that is the Baxter's nerve. So you can see this is the Baxter's nerve. It is due to inferior calcaneal branch of lateral plantar nerve which is affected. So this is the lateral plantar nerve. Its inferior branch is affected and leading to Baxter's nerve neuropathy. So by this we have completed this lesson. Hope you understood this lesson.